So now to the most important player. I mean, everybody else was important, but in my view, this one is the most important player. It's my pleasure to call on Professor Bekinkosi Moyo, who is our director for the CAPSI Center. He's also an editor, as well as our adjunct professor here at the Wits Business School. So Prof. Moyo, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ru, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues, depending on where you are. I think I will need the presentation to be uploaded. While waiting for the presentation, we are happy to host you today in this info session. Let me first welcome and thank our partners. I'm really glad that Inyatelo has been on this journey with us. Thank you very much, Nazima, Jocelyn, and the team. I think we've been working on this for the past 2 or so years, and here we are today. I also want to recognize our academic director at the Wits Business School, and thank you, Logan, for making the time and making the link between what we are offering at CAPSI and the entire business school. WS colleagues that are here, Rotendo, Becky, and other colleagues who are in this session, and the team at CAPSI. I think this would not have been possible also without some of the work that has been done or was done by Sue, for example, who really led the whole application process, and the consultations that we held with colleagues from across the country, especially from universities and some of the non-profit institutions who helped us design the program. And of course, I want to recognize the work done by Asabia and Professor Obeng towards this. Having said that, I think I can move to the next slide. Colleagues would want to know what exactly is this about, what will we be offering. I want to position the postgraduate diploma within the overall strategy of CAPSI, which is that we have started offering short courses, both master classes and certificates. But we also began conversations with Inyatelo at a time when we had already submitted an application to the Council on Higher Education to accredit us to teach at a master's degree level. And that has been provisionally approved, and so we'll be rolling that out next year. I'm saying this because the diploma sits somewhere in between the short courses and the master's program. And so there's a vertical articulation into the master's program. So as soon as you do this program, you can articulate into the master's program. And that's an important component for me to mention. So what do you expect to gain from the program if you do decide to take part? There are a number of desired learning outcomes that I wanted to share with you. The first is that we would hope that when you take this module, you'll be able to demonstrate mastery of the foundational knowledge of philanthropy and resource mobilization. The second is that you would be able to practice the skills, the competencies, and professionalism that is consistent with the program. We are also hoping that after taking the modules, you'll be able to apply the principles of organizational development, especially in areas of formulating strategies and planning. But it also means that you'll be able to work effectively towards the long-term sustainability of your institution, whether it's a university or a non-profit organization or a project. But we think that some of the modules would help you to identify and apply principles and practices of effective grant making and financial management. And of course, as you know, the world has been changing. The grant making field is morphing slowly into fund management. And I think that that's one of the areas that would want some of these modules to help you gain experience and expertise in. But also, some of you who are already in the field, we hope that after taking the module, you'll identify and be able to practice ethical leadership at both personal and professional levels. But it's also important to be able to communicate effectively. And so one of the modules would help us or help you to communicate purposefully with the external environment in order to attract more resources. Funding being one of them, but there are other resources that the modules are going to introduce you to. But also to be able to employ philanthropic principles and practices to align with the national and global agenda. There are so many agendas, one of which is the SDGs. And that's one of the big global agendas that we would want some of the modules to help you align with. But also to be able to participate in sharing lessons and experiences that contribute to developing a community of philanthropy professionals. So I've given you an overview of the learning outcomes if you decided to take this program. The program is organized in a format like this. There will be core courses and electives. So you can see that of the core courses is the Landscaping African Philanthropy, the Organization and Management of Resource Mobilization. Importantly is the issue of measuring and reporting performance for nonprofit organizations. But there's also the marketing and communication in contemporary philanthropy. Working with communities is very, very important. And here it will depend what we mean by communities. And we're working with one of the most experienced resource person who will be teaching this module, who has worked with community foundations, managed foundations, and has worked with communities. And so she brings a huge wealth of experience. I'll come back to talking about some of the resource people that will be taking you through the modules. Ethical leadership is very important. At the business school, one of the mottos is to scout leaders, and those should be ethical leaders across the continent. We then also have, so those are core modules. So if you take this program, you have to do those modules. But in addition to that, you can then take you can choose 3 electives out of the 4 that you have there. So the first is philanthropy and fundraising in African educational institutions. And then there's the philanthropic foundations module, innovations in philanthropy. And I think COVID-19 has brought into sharper focus the kinds of innovations that philanthropy must be supporting or must actually be putting in place. And of course, public policy is a very important dimension to philanthropy. So how does philanthropy impact or affect public policy? And how does public policy in turn shape the conditions under which philanthropy operates? So these are the program, and these are the modules that the program offers. And of course, as time goes on, and context will be changing, we'll be revisiting these to actually improve on them or to even do more additions or changes. And we'll do that within the university rules and the qualifications frameworks. And of course, because this is a postgraduate diploma, you'll be expected to undergo assessments. Let me say that the core modules are worth 15 credits, and the electives are worth 10 credits. And as you can see there, as per the assessments, you will be assessed at an individual level, at a syndicate level, and at an exam level. So if we could go to the next slide, please. I think I've already spoken about the modules. So what are the entry requirements? And I think some of you who might have already applied, you have actually seen that. So we are hoping to attract people who are already working in the field, who are practicing either in universities, in advancement offices, or what are called development and fundraising offices. We are also hoping that there will be people who would want to apply, who are working as fundraising specialists within their organizations, CEOs of these organizations, because the chief fundraiser in most cases is the CEO. And we're also hoping that there'll be people who would actually join from the private sector, because the private sector also does work with nonprofits, gives funding to nonprofits. But for you to give funding to a beneficiary, you need to understand what you are dealing with. And so some of these modules would help those in the private sector, in the foundations world, as well as in donor institutions, to understand the grantees and the beneficiaries. But we're also hoping that there will be people who will be doing grant making in their institutions who want to benefit from this. So the target really is broad, and we are hoping that there will be interest coming from those quotas. But to apply, you need to have a bachelor's degree, which is NQF7 in terms of the National Qualifications Framework. Working experience is a huge advantage. In fact, as we begin to process the applications, one of the things that we'll be expecting is a motivation letter that explains your working experience and why this program will be of benefit to you at an individual level, but also for the sector that you are representing. There's a level of competence that is required. Also, we do have we do accept within a particular percentage people who are not degreed, who are using a recognition of prior learning, but it's a small percentage. I must stress here that it's not really something big. It's a small percentage within a cohort. And then, candidates may also be required to undergo an admissions test. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so this is going to, it's a one-year program. Essentially, we did have full-time and part-time, but in terms of practice, given COVID and where we are and the teaching mode, it's just the same. Basically, we are going to have a 12-month program that begins on the 18th of June this year. It's going to be online. Basically, we would have hoped to do a hybrid model, but as things stand, we feel strongly that we can still manage to do this online. And if changes do happen, we'll communicate that. But for now, we are communicating that we'll be offering this online. But it's going to be very interactive. It's not the online where we pre-record and just send material to you. No, so it's going to be almost this format where a lecturer is teaching and people can engage, but virtually. The classes are only going to be on weekends, on Saturdays, and that's the future of most learning now. A lot of people who are working busy, they would prefer to either do classes in the evenings or on weekends, and we managed to get a slot on weekends, on Saturdays. So that's how the classes are going to run. The timetables are already there. I think we will be in a position to share that. The fee is there, is 84,000 rands. It's a big amount, but given that this is a new program and within the university standards and rules, we have no leeway basically on our side as the center to change the fees. If we can move to the next slide, please. So the first core modules will run from the 18th of June to August. So those will be the first two modules that will be offered: the landscaping African philanthropy and organizing and managing resource mobilization. And then we'll also have the second two modules running from September to November. And those are going to be the measuring and reporting performance, as well as marketing and communication in contemporary philanthropy. And then the third set of core modules are going to be in January to March next year. And this is working with communities and ethical leadership. And then if we can move to the next slide, I think we need to. Okay, so can I ask you to go back to the other slide so that I can talk about the. Okay, so the electives will then run in April to June, and there, like I said, you only choose 3 electives out of the 4 that are there. So classes happen every Saturday. Unfortunately, it's from morning to late afternoon, but it's only on Saturdays and nothing during the week. We can move to the next slide. So I said that we have lined up a very interesting list of resource persons who will be offering and teaching in some of these modules. We just chose a few of them to just let you know about them, but we'll be sharing the list once all the necessary processes have been completed. But in the main, we have really tried to bring people who have both academic experience and practical experience. So we are not just bringing people who will tell you stuff because they've read about it. We are bringing people that have done this thing. They've had to deal with the challenges. And so when they say, this is what you should be doing, they can share their personal experiences, share their successes, and even their failures to help you understand what we're talking about. So one of the people that we have brought on board to help us on philanthropic foundations as well as innovations in philanthropy is Jerry Salol. Some of you might know Jerry Salol. Jerry Salol is an Ethiopian citizen with his whole experience having worked in Africa with a number of institutions. At some time he was with the Save the Children. He then was with the Ford Foundation based here in Southern Africa before moving to Brussels, where he became the Chief Executive Officer of the European Foundation Center, which is a platform for more than 200 foundations that fund across the globe, including in Africa. So Jerry brings a huge wealth of experience, having managed foundations, having run foundations, but also having led some of the most innovations in the philanthropic space. And so we are looking forward to having Jerry join the faculty. We also have, if you can move to the next slide, I also wanted to, showcase another resource person. Some of you might have met BONGI MLANGENI. She's a communications specialist, having spent some of her time as a journalist, then went on to work for Corruption South Africa, then became a communications director at the Graça Machel Trust. She also, recently was the CEO of the Social Justice Initiative. And so BONGI brings a lot of wealth in terms of having worked as a fundraiser, especially from high net worth individuals, but also having been a communications specialist herself. And so mixing the communications discipline and fundraising is going to be something that I'll be looking forward to attend if I were to attend some of these classes. I chose those two, but let me tell you about other people without mentioning their names. We also have somebody who runs a community foundation in Egypt that we have brought on board to actually, come share experiences. She also teaches at the University of Cairo, the American University in Cairo. And so again, looking forward to getting experiences from somebody who runs a community foundation, teaches public policy, but also comes from North Africa, a part of the continent that we really benefit from. We have somebody who is currently the director of one of the development and fundraising offices in one of the biggest universities here in South Africa, who will also be teaching around resource mobilization, but also helping us understand the field of advancement. We have invited colleagues who are working in the private sector to also become resource people to actually come and teach some of the modules. So we have drawn from a wide range of expertise and precisely like I said, to be able to provide students with both theoretical but practical knowledge as well. And I would want this to align with the desired outcomes that I mentioned in the beginning. So we could move to the next slide. And I think here I'll hand over to my colleague to talk a bit about the application process, and then we can come back and answer some of the questions that you might have. We are trying to compress a lot of information in this info session, but maybe during the question and answer session, we might cover some areas that I've left out. Thank you, Ro.
Thank you so much, Prof. We appreciate it. Kera, if I may ask you to step in and just do the application process for us. And while Kera is doing that, to our guests, please feel free to post any questions in the chat room, or you can raise your question, your hand, and will allow you to speak. We do give marks for people who ask questions. It will count for the application process. No, I'm kidding. But Kera, if I can ask you please to take us through the application process. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ru. So one of the really good things about COVID is that everything has gone online, including our application process. So the link that you see at the bottom there, you're able to submit everything. You don't need to come to South Africa for anything really. You upload all your documents that you require. You fill in the application form. There is an application fee that's required of 200 Rand. So if you have a credit card or whatever, you just put your details and that will go through. Now, one of the things that we are pleading with all applicants is to put everything in full. So all these documents that you see here, they are required. So you need to fill in the application form. And then there's something called a Faculty of Management Part 3 form, which is also available on the same link. You just put your details in there. All the degrees and certificates that you've done, you should get a soft copy for that and get it certified at your local authorities and upload that for us as well. We require the academic transcript. So when you graduate, they give you a certificate, but they also give you a transcript which shows your marks that you got and the modules that you took. So please ensure to put that in. If you studied in another language like French or Portuguese or whatever, please translate that for us into English. And then you need to upload your CV. Don't hold back and don't be humble about it, because what we're looking for there is to see where you have worked. So if you have worked in the NGO sector at some point in your life, make sure that that comes out quite strongly. And then write a letter of motivation. You need to do some introspection and really ask yourself why you want to do the diploma, because this could be a make or break for the decision whether you go in or not. So take it seriously, some introspection, and write a nice, strong motivation, save it as PDF, and then upload it onto the site. So what we advise all of you to do is to just prepare all the documents, and then when you are ready with the 200 Rand, you then go onto the application link and start the process, so that when you upload, you don't forget anything. You don't wait for a letter of motivation or academic transcripts. So create a little folder and save everything, and then upload once when you are ready. We are accepting applications until the 31st of March. Just start the process and get busy with it, especially if you still need to go and certify your degrees or obtain your academic transcript. So start early, don't wait for the last minute. And then the last thing, should you become successful, you will receive a letter from the university to tell you that you've been successful. The school fees is 84,000 as been communicated. However, once you've been accepted, we ask that you pay the first 15,000 of that 84,000 in order to complete your registration. This is part of your course fee, so it's not over and above the 84,000. So that's the process, all online. You don't need to come here or do anything physically. Just prepare all these documents for us, upload it onto this online link, make your payment of 200 Rand, and then you'll expect to hear from us before May. Thank you, Ru. The next slide, sorry, the next slide. Okay, so Peggy did mention to you that we also have certificate programs. So there are 3 certificates that will be offered later on in the year. They all have Swahili names because we're trying to fly the African flag high and use African language in our teaching as well. So these certificates are named after precious minerals and stones on the continent. FEDA, it means silver. It's an introduction. It's an introduction to philanthropy certificate, and it's equivalent to NQF level 6. And then we have Dhahabu. Dhahabu means gold in Swahili language again. So it's more advanced than the FEDA, and it's equivalent to NQF level 7. And then lastly, we have the Almasi certificate. Almasi means diamond in Swahili, so it's the highest short certificate that you can get. People that undergo this process are able to come into this postgraduate diploma as well. And once you've done the postgraduate diploma, you can go into the master's program, which we'll be offering next year, and do your PhD. We can take you all the way that you want to go with this program. So we just wanted to show you where the PG dip fits into the whole picture. We have the short certificates. Before that, we have you guys that are coming into the postgraduate diploma. And when you do the postgraduate diploma, let me emphasize, you are able to go into the master's program if you pass, obviously, and complete all your modules successfully. So that's the roadmap that you will follow. And so I'll hand over to Begum Fundo just to give you guidance in terms of inquiries and where to direct all your questions.
Thank you so much, Kara. Asante. Becky is my colleague in the marketing department. I always say he's the one who manages me. So I don't know, Becky, if you're going to step in there and say something, but you will see on the screen that we've got key contact people's details. On the inquiry side, it's really the marketing department contact numbers and an email address. I would suggest you send your email to Becky. Actually, he's very responsive and he will respond to you timeously. We've got contact details of our admissions officer, Carmen, and her email address is listed. I know on this call, we also have our colleague, Q. I always call her Q because I don't want to butcher her name and she will kill me, so forgive me, but Q, I think it's also part of the admissions program. So those are the key contact details for our colleagues. And that brings us to the presentation to our prospective, first group of students who will be on our program. And it's your time now to ask questions. We've done all the talking. You're probably processing a lot of information, but if there are people who have questions to ask, this is your opportunity. Raise your hand and we'll unmute you and you can ask some questions. And we can hear different voices from the voices you've been hearing so far. So we're inviting some questions to our guests in the room. Who wants to start? Remember I said you get marks, you get marks for just asking. I'm not seeing any hands yet.
Ruth, just to respond, there was someone who was asking about a recording, so we'll just have it on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you missed because of connectivity or whatever, it will be alive on the YouTube channel and Facebook.
Awesome. Thanks, Kara. Thank you so much. Any questions for our guests? I know you're probably processing it. It's a lot. Okay, so say something. Say, whoo, it's exciting. It's really exciting, but I'm just processing. Charlotte, is that what you're thinking? Sorry to pick on you. I just saw a name that I can pronounce on the chat. Okay. Oh, wait. Now, I think maybe this is where I sing a song. Maybe not, maybe not.
I'll say something.
Thank you, Lucy.
This is Lucy from Zambia.
Okay.
on the requirements for acceptance, if I saw correctly, there's a requirement for mathematics. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is mathematics a requirement?
Maybe it's Linton's wish that he wasn't happy with that. Linton, you choose that, Linton.
Hello? You didn't get my question?
Hi,
No,
Lucy.
We heard your
heard-
question, Lucy. We heard your question, Lucy.
Okay.
Okay, I was just going to check what the phrasing was. I think the phrasing was competency in mathematics. I'm looking at the actual documents to make sure that we are saying it properly, because I don't think you will have to produce a certificate in mathematics. But I think because some of the modules will require some formulas and some, because you are dealing with donor funding, including some modeling. So I think that's partly what this is saying, but I don't think they will require you to submit a certificate that shows that you passed maths. I mean, that's my interpretation. I might stand to be corrected. Kira, I'm looking at the actual document to see where it says mathematics. I saw competence in mathematics, but not necessarily as a certificate.
Yes, that's right, Peggy. So it's a competence in mathematics that's equivalent to NSC, which is high school, the end of high school in South Africa. So the only reason really, remember, this is a business school. You will be receiving a postgraduate in management, and there is a finance module where there'll be some numbers here and there, but we don't need like an A+ or whatever in maths. You just need to have it from high school level, which is equivalent to matric in South Africa, or O levels in other parts.
Okay, understood, colleagues. Thanks.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Lucy. Thanks, Kira and Prof, for that explanation. Charlotte says she's currently in the mining industry in CSI and socioeconomic development. So, she feels that this could be of great help in that space. And I know I picked on Charlotte. So thank you, Charlotte, for posting something there. I see there's a question from, oh gosh, that name, I hope I don't butcher that name. So please, do you want to say your question, or I can read it out? If you've already completed a short course or short courses from the Philanthropy Center, does one get a credit for the master program from the short courses? I know, Prof, you mentioned that you get credits if you meet the admission requirements for requirements for the masters. So what about a short course? Does one get credits from a short course, Prof?
Yeah, so it depends what you mean by a short course. So if it is master classes, no, because the master class is just a 2-day course. You get a certificate of, I think, attendance or competence, if I remember very well. So there's no credit there. But if you do the certificate, which is what I think Kira showed there, from level 7 and level 8, there are advantages in that you can articulate into the next level, and some of the modules, if you do them in level 8, you don't have to repeat them at the diploma level or master's level. So that's the articulation. But if you just do a master class, it doesn't really, you don't get a credit into the next level. It helps you to get the basics and the fundamental foundations of what you are going to be studying, but there's no actual credit that you take because it's not assessed. Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Appreciate that. Deer's got a question on the application deadline date. He would like to look for sponsorship from his employer. So the question is, could the deadline date of 31st March be extended to allow for individuals seeking sponsorship from employers?
I think I will ask Kira and the colleagues from admissions to address this. From our side, I think we work with timetables that have been given to us by the university. So the decision to extend or not extend really rests with the university, central and admissions, and not us. But I know that maybe colleagues from admissions office might have a view on this.
So the deadline is May, 31st of May. It's not March. That would be a catastrophe. So it's 31st of May. You do have time to seek sponsorship from your employer. The classes start on the 18th of June. So it's really like 2 weeks after the applications close. So with 31st of May, we're hoping that you're able to do everything. And also remember, you don't need to have the full 84,000 by the 31st of May. You can apply, because remember, we still need to assess and accept or reject. So apply, and then once your place is secure, then you go and seek your sponsorship from your employer. Don't hold everything back, waiting for the employer when you haven't been accepted as yet.
Okay, no, thanks, Kara. Q, I saw you come in there. Did you want to add on onto that question, Q?
Hi, Ru. Yes, I wanted to answer Prof. Becky that in cases where an extension is needed for the application period to be done, it can be done, but it also needs to be approved by him because he's the director. But this one, it's not the 31st of March. The deadline is the 31st of May, so we still have time. Thank you, Ru.
Thank you, Q. Sorry, Dio is happy with that. It will give him time to speak to his employer. Do we have any other questions? Our program is scheduled to end at 6, and I see we are about 3 minutes over 6 o'clock, so we'll allow for 1 or 2 more questions. But if not, you would have seen that Becky Matandela, we've got 2 Beckys. So the other one is the big boss for the CAPSI, and the other one is the big boss for the marketing department whom I work with. So you can send emails directly to them. So feel free to do that in case you're still processing information. Please feel free to get in touch with any one of us, and we will help you with the required information. Any questions? Going, and Prof, I don't know if you then want to do the vote of thanks, maybe prepare your vote of thanks if we don't get any questions. Okay, Botsi is greeting us. I think he or she might have a question. Botsi, please feel free to talk if you'd like. Okay, Botsi says, how many people does the course accommodate for the year? All right. Prof and Kara, how many people are we taking for this inaugural program?
We're taking as many as we can. I think the minimum that we are expected to take is 25. That's the minimum. I think anything less than that might be a problem for us and the university to argue for its viability. So we are able to take as many people as possible.
Okay, that's great. So Botsi, we have space. We have space for you. Any other questions?
I see somebody says would working experience disadvantage 1. No, it won't. Actually, it's an advantage unless if you don't have work experience. That's not the only requirement. Actually, there's also the academic side of things. So if you qualify academically and you don't have work experience, we'll look at that. There will be a committee that will look into the applications. But I don't think that on its own could disqualify somebody. But if you do have work experience, it's even a better advantage to have.
Okay.
Lerato, yes, classes are from the 18th of June. on Saturdays only.
Okay, Botsi had posted a question, but I think he or she is covered, all right. Yeah. Any other questions to our first class? All right, I think, Prof, I can confidently say that we've supplied adequate information, or our colleagues are just wanting to process the information. So may I hand over to you to just do a vote of thanks or closing remarks?
Thank you, Ru. Let me check if Nazima wants to say a few words, given that she didn't respond to questions, and then I will close.
Okay.
There were no questions to me, Becky. I just want to say I'm so excited, and I hope that as many of the people who are interested here will join the course. And thank you so much to you, Becky and Kira, and the whole team at Wits for making this happen. And of course to the Inyatelo team too. This is the start of something really amazing.
All right. Thank you, Nazima.
All right, thank you, Nazima, and I really want to reiterate the importance of the collaboration with Inyatelo, because if it wasn't for COVID-19, and we're hoping the situation will stabilize soon, the idea was also to offer some of the classes from those beautiful spaces that you saw that Nazima presented. And so our hope was really to move around and be able to meet people where they are. And in Cape Town, Inyatelo was going to provide the venue for us to take modules there. We are hopeful that at some point in time that will be possible. And hoping that we can also develop some similar relationships with others across the continent, so that we are able to tailor make some of the courses there as well. I want to recognize and thank some of our partners that I see on this call. The center is also supported by development partners. So I see some of our colleagues from the Ford Foundation in this call. I want to recognize them and thank them for the partnership and the support that we have received. And I also want to recognize some of the people who attended the short courses that I see here. So I see Vamachele, Lucy, and others that I may not remember, but thank you so much for coming.
Kwame, Peggy. Kwame.
Kwame as well, yeah. So thank you very much for coming back. I just noticed the names because I taught some of the classes, so those came pretty fast to me. So apologies, Kwame, if I did not recognize you. But it's important that I do say that because I think, you know, for us, alumni play a huge role in terms of the work that we do. So thank you very much. So I think that, you know, we would end it here, and thank you for taking the time to attend this info session. If you have questions, please just continue sending them through. Our team members are going to be as efficient as possible to respond to you. But also, if you need assistance with the application process itself, don't hesitate. Just reach out to the contact details that we offered there, but also to the team at CAPSI. We are standing ready to assist in case there is any troubleshooting that needs to be done. And in the next coming weeks, we will also beginning to share information about the lecturers and asking them to also talk to you through videos or any other format in terms of what they will be teaching, so that you have something to look forward to. So thank you very much, Ruth, to you and the team at marketing, the team at CAPSI, and the team at Inyatelo. Have a great evening, great afternoon and morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much, everyone.
Asante, siyabonga. Thank you, Prof. Datenda. Thank you, everybody. Keep well. We look forward to welcoming you on this program.
Kwaheri. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.